back to the social media derby. Before we get into this week's episode, it's going to be a bit of a short one. Obviously, the season's ended. But before we get into it, for those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share if you can, drop your comments down below. We're going to be talking transfers, some Euros predictions, so plenty of opportunities to get involved. And for those of you listening on Spotify, Apple, or any of the other podcasting platforms, please follow, give us a 5-star review if you can. All of that stuff helps with engagement and the algorithms. But all right, let's get on to our special segment of the week, Jonts. Obviously, the Euros are coming up in a few weeks' time. England are involved. We're obviously in England, probably going to be supporting them. But there are, some other really big hitters qualified for this year's tournament. Got France, Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Spain. Who else am I missing?
Portugal.
I mean, Belgium are there. Portugal, yeah, obviously. So yeah, it's a really strong pool. But we're going to go through and predict our winners, dark horses, flops, and player of the tournaments, just as we did for AFCON and Asia Cup earlier in the season. We're going to do the same thing here. So again, we've got to specify with a few of these. Yeah, winners speaks for itself. Dark horses. So the dark horses one, I think what we want to do is pick someone who the bookies don't have as one of the favourites to win the tournament. So I believe the favourites are England and France, right? Are the two main favourites.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm just double checking now if there are anyone else.
Germany and Spain are really kind of like the second batch under England and France.
Yeah. Okay. But I think just like we did with AFCON and Asia Cup, we're not predicting dark horses to win the tournament necessarily, but we're picking dark horses to go deep and to maybe, exceed the expectations for them. So yeah, obviously don't pick bloody, Germany or Spain to win the Euros, because that wouldn't really be a dark horse if they're in, second tier in the favourites. But, it could be someone who gets to the semis or something like that. Flop speaks for itself again, and player of the tournament speaks for itself. So let's start with your winners, John. Who do you think is going to win the Euros this year in Germany?
All right, I'm in two minds about this one. I'm going to go for the team that I really, really want to win and I think could win, but I don't know if they necessarily will, and that is going to be England, mate. I'm going for the Three Lions. Come on, England. Let's win this.
Let's do this.
You know what I mean? Mbappe can't have the best summer of his life. He can't be going to Real Madrid and win the Euros. No choose one.
Yeah, but I mean, with that one, then just chat on that point for a second. What do you think is the real obstacle for England winning the Euros? Because a lot of people would argue it's one of the best squads we've had in years in terms of the pool of talent. What do you think will be? Why do you think it's not an absolute tap-in?
I think we just got a really poor head-to-head record against the best teams in the world, and I think that's mainly the fault of Gareth Southgate in terms of the way that he wants us to play. He kind of invites on other teams to play how they want to play against us, and we kind of sit back, kind of wait for an opportunity instead of really going on the front foot and putting it to another team. And I think creatively, attacking-wise, as you say, our team is the best it's ever been. And the fact that he refuses to utilise that, and he kind of relies more heavily on our centre-backs and our defenders in this kind of like holding pattern type of football that he wants to play against the big teams is the major reason why we end up always kind of losing out, because instead of going and putting another team to the sword, we kind of just wait and rely on lucky chances here and there. And I don't think you can break a funk that we've got when it comes to big international tournaments through like waiting for luck. I think luck comes to those who really go out there and try and do something. And that's where you see teams like France, Germany, Spain, whoever else, they get a lot of, it seems like they get a lot of luck, but I think it's also because they're really trying to do something with the ball and they're really trying to do something with the match. So yeah, I don't want to leave it up to penalties because we've got no bottle. We need to be going out there and smashing teams off the park. And I think the reason why I do think it could happen is because I think we're due a slightly easier draw. So I'm hoping we get a slightly easier draw and somebody else knocks out France on the way to the final, and then we get stuck with I don't know. I'd have more confidence with us against like a Netherlands or a Croatia, one of the kind of dark horse teams that might find their way to the final. I think that I've got more faith that we could win, and that's kind of the way I'm working through things in my head. If I talk about England winning the Euros,
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. I agree with you as well. And I mean, what you said about luck is totally true. I've heard some really interesting takes on Real Madrid today about obviously them winning the Champions League, the team that you're wearing the shirt of, and I think you can't take luck away from some of Real Madrid's victories as well. But they've kind of earned their luck because they go for it, and they suffer. I think is the word I've heard constantly to describe them. When they're not playing well, other teams are on top of them. They dig deep and they don't just crumble. And then you obviously get a bit of luck once you get through that. So we need that for England to win. But I would argue that the last Euros we kind of had some of the pieces fall into place that you just described. France got knocked out earlier by Switzerland. We got to the final with a relatively easy run. The only difficult team we played is Germany, and we kind of spanked them. And then we had Italy at home, and I don't think it was the best Italy team ever. So,
it's the heritage that gets them through. It's like Tony Cruz. I think Carragher managed to get a little minute with him, and he said, how do Real Madrid keep doing this? And he just said, we don't lose finals. And that is I think the mentality that England don't have. And I think, I agree with you. Last Euros, we probably had our best chance to do it. And I think that was where we were probably closest to being able to do something, right? And that's where I'm saying, if we can do that again, hopefully the cards just fall in place and we can beat a team like Italy, or we can beat a team that's not a France. But I think if we come up against France, man, I don't want to be relying on bloody Kyle Walker to deal with Mbappe again.
Not the way he dealt with Kobe, let's put it that way.
Exactly.
Had to get that in there. It's been a couple of weeks, but still very proud of my team for battering those scumbags. All right, makes sense, man. I thought you might say England or France, and judging the number of times you've worn your England top on this pod, I was thinking you were going to go for England. Come on, England. No, for me, I've gone for Germany. And I'm kind of doing it a bit out of stubbornness because I've heard a lot of people talk absolute fraff about how they're rubbish and they're just a disaster of a team. People that have said that haven't watched them over the last 2 months or 3 months. In the last couple of international breaks, they've been absolutely cooking. They beat France. I think they battered Netherlands. They've been absolutely spanking teams. And bear in mind, those teams played their full-strength teams. Mbappe was playing when they beat France. Virgil van Disney and all those guys were playing when they played Netherlands and beat them. They looked really good. And I was saying it to you off camera the other day. Nagelsmann has got his claws into that young team, and he's going to cook. It's in Germany. They've had a real stinker in the last couple of tournaments. They're due a turnaround, and they've been looking very impressive recently. So they may not win, and they may just fall short because I do agree France, England are a little bit further ahead, but I would not be shocked, and I'm gonna go for the home advantage and say that Germany are going to come through and win. I do think England and France will both get to the semis though, so by that logic, Germany beats either one of them and either the final or in the semis. But again, I don't think that's impossible. Wirtz and all the Leverkusen lads are coming off the best season of their lives, invincible in the Bundesliga. They've got loads of other really strong young talent, and then a bunch of older, more mature S houses in defence. That kind of combination has led to a lot of trophies and international trophies in years gone past. So I'm going to go for Germany, man. What do you think? Do you think I'm on the budge, or do you think?
No, I think it's possible, but I will say that they're currently drawing to Ukraine in the 85th minute in a friendly. It's a 0-0 right now with them and Ukraine, but I will say that their team right now, the team they put out for this team is terrible. or not terrible, but they took off like Musiala, Wirtz, Gundogan, Havertz. They took off pretty much everybody at half time. So I'm not crazy. I'm not going to put too much stock in that. But at the same time, I will say that England are currently beating Bosnia 3-0. So, you never know what might happen. But no, I think Germany, home field advantage, I agree with you. Everyone's overdoing it way too much. Like, they did stink for a while. But I think people just, as a result, have not been watching them. They've been just expecting them to continue to stink. And I think, as you said, they've had some good wins over some really big teams, which is more than I can say for England. So, if there's going to be anyone to not do it to do it that is not England or France, I think it's them. And I think Nagelsmann is going to get that team absolutely purring.
Yeah, I think people are underestimating that. Sure, look at the teams, look at the players, but why when we look at club football do we emphasize managers so much, but when it comes to international football, just completely disregard them? Like, I honestly believe it's a couple of minus points having Gareth Southgate. It's a couple of plus points having Nagelsmann. Like, let's
Agreed.
be honest. Like, the managers also play a big role in this, and I think tactically, like you said, he's going to have them purring like nobody's business. So yeah, let's ignore the Ukraine part. You can cut that from the edit.
They might go and win. Who knows? They might know. They might go and win. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, let's go on to dark horses then. Who's your dark horse for the tournament?
Portugal. I'm going for Portugal. I don't know if they're necessarily considered to be a dark horse, but I'm going for them because I think there's something about them that, I think they're primed to be the kind of Croatia of this tournament, if that makes sense, right? They're the one that's no one's really paying attention to too heavy. They've got class in that team as well. They've got absolute class players in that team. So I don't think you can underestimate that. I think, I don't know, there's so many parallels I see between them and Croatia. I think they play together well as a team. They've got absolute techie ballers in that team. They've got, I guess, experienced players as well. Like I'm going to go for Portugal. I just don't think like a team like Italy or I don't even know if you consider Spain to be a dark horse, but I don't think any of those teams are really going to shock us. But I think Portugal have the ability to do that.
I'm going to have to get VAR check on that. How can you have Portugal as a dark horse? They're bloody class, mate.
Really?
They could easily win.
Where have the bookies got them though? I don't think the bookies have got them in a top 5.
Have they not? That would feel
let me have a
absolutely
little
bonkers. Have a little look in the meantime while I say mine. But I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said. I just think having them as dark horse is all right, cheeky bastard.
I think you're giving them a bit too much credit based off of how well they've done previously.
They've won a Euros not that long ago.
But that's not the point I'm talking about. I'm talking about the last however many tournaments. Like, how well have they done? Not very well.
Well, not the last Euros.
I'll give you that. They're the 4th favourite. All right, you keep waffle and let me figure out what I'm going to put next. Who I'm going to put in this instead of them.
All right, let me do mine while you try and scramble because you've gone for bloody Portugal. I'm going to say Hungary, and it's not because I'm slightly hungry right now, although I am a bit. It's because No, man, they beat England 4-0 like not that long ago, and they beat England away as well. And I don't think they're going to win, no chance. But I have a feeling they could be the 4th team in the semis that somehow manages to kind of knock out a Portugal or a Italy or a Belgium to get to the semis. But they don't have an amazing team of household names, but I think they're one of the strongest teams as a unit. And seeing how they dispatched of England both home and away, I was really shocked, man. I like you said, England I've seen before or kind of suffer with the big teams, but generally their win rate against the teams they should beat was really high. So for them to lose home and away, I know it was only Nations League or whatever, it was a shock, man. So I think Hungary have got a decent team, and I think they'll be my dark horses. Have you thought of who are going to be your dark horses now? Not bloody Portugal.
Uh, I guess I'll have to go for someone like Denmark. I think they
Okay.
probably had one of the better qualifying rounds. I think it was like 7 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. Not too bad. They also did pretty well against some pretty good competition in the last. I think it was the last Euros. So I could see them maybe doing something. I think they've got a pretty good manager as well. Um, yeah, if I'm forced to have to pick a less favourite of a team than Portugal, then I'd probably go for Denmark. I think Hungary as well, same kind of thing, but I just think Denmark have a bit more heritage, so I'll probably go for
Man's
Denmark.
gone straight. Bang out the next pod. I'm going to see you banging out the Hummels and get all the classic Danish gear out. Bloody Peter Schmeichel shirt and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, heritage means a lot, mate. Look at who just won the bloody Champions League. So
No, you're right.
heritage
And the
means a lot.
Denmark won a Euros when they didn't even qualify, and they came in and just replaced the team that got disqualified, and they went on to win it. So
There you go.
yeah, I actually think they'll do well too, but I don't know if they'll be able to push on to the same levels as Hungary. But yeah, all right, cool. What about flops then? Who are your flops of the tournament?
Spain. I'm always putting Spain for this. And this is just so I hope Rodri has to come out and diss people again. I'm going for Spain because we went and watched them against Colombia and they were massively underwhelming. I think they obviously didn't put out their best team ever, but I think, man, when you hear the name Spain and when you think about who they've got in their team and all of that, it's just like they should be a way better team than they actually are. And I think they've got a bit of a Botley type of gene in them right now. So I'm going for Spain, but I'm sure after saying this, they'll go and win it. So we'll see what happens.
Nah, I actually have you seen their squad? I think you're onto something with Spain. I think they're going to stink out the joint. Um, their manager, whoever he is, the squad he
Yeah, he's made
picked.
some wild picks, right?
Honestly, some absolute stinkers in there. Bloody Jesus Navas is in there instead of Pedro Porro, mate. Like honestly, I,
Yeah.
you remember that time when De Gea was one of the best goalies in the world and they just wouldn't pick him, and they were playing that
Yeah.
other Don from bloody Bilbao or whatever it was. Like
Yeah.
they're always on some funky stuff, and it generally comes back to bite them on the arse. So yeah, I think you're onto something with
Yeah.
them. I've actually gone for Netherlands though.
Mm.
And the reason why is I actually think they've got a decent squad and the squad's building back to being quite a strong team. But the key denominator, I'm going back to managers. I've got no faith in Ronald Koeman. And the last time he was a Netherlands manager, I'm pretty sure they stank it up as well because they've been kind of doing this thing where it bounces between Louis van Gaal and then it goes to Koeman and then it goes back to Van Gaal and then it goes back to Koeman. Whenever they've done that, Van Gaal has generally done decent with his teams. Got to the semis, got to the quarters, obviously in the last World Cup. But whenever it's bounced back to Koeman, he's always done absolutely balls. So, and I don't believe in him as a manager. I think he was decent at Everton when he first came in, but every other job I've seen him at, Barcelona, he was stinking it up. So I think he's going to find a way to drag Netherlands down, and they're one of the tournament favourites, and I don't think they're going to get anywhere near it. I think they'll be lucky if they get to the quarterfinals. I think they'll falter, and I'll put all of the blame at Ronald Koeman's door. All right, let's go to player of the tournament then, John. Who do you think is going to be the player of the tournament for you?
In line with, I guess, the team that I picked to win, I am going for Harry Kane to be the player of the tournament. I think it's going to be. I'm not going to say it's going to be his last Euros. And I don't think it'll be his last major tournament. I obviously think that he's going to go to the World Cup and so on, but I do think it's going to be like, you lot all making fun of me because Bayern did so terribly at the, in the Bundesliga. I'm gonna show you lot that I'm still balling out here, and I still broke records this year. So I have a feeling that if England are going to be the ones that go on and win it, he's going to be the one that is favourite or in line to be player of the tournament. I could easily see, obviously, like if Foden really takes over and Southgate sorts out how he wants to play, and he allows Foden to be the focal point of that team, I could see Foden also doing the same kind of thing because he's clearly got that kind of clutch gene in him. He scores in big games a lot of the time. Not so much in the most recent game that you played, but he has done it previously. So yeah, I'll go for Kane, but I could see Foden winning it as well if Southgate figures out how to play, which is a big if.
Yeah, I hear you. I think on the England side, it would probably be Kane. I think the other shout might be Bellingham. Obviously, coming off he didn't
possible.
play well. He didn't play that well in the Champions League final, but he's generally been kind of coming up clutch. I'd probably say more so than Foden, to be honest. Although Foden had a great season in the Prem, in some of the big games, he's also gone missing. So I would rather think it'd probably be Kane or Bellingham from England. But I've gone in line again with the team that I think will win, and I've gone for. I was really tempted to go for Musiala, but because he's actually my favorite German player, it's not King Kai. It's going to be Florian Wirtz. I just think international football is like tailor made for him. Like when I've seen him play international football for Germany, you know how when you see a player play amazingly for club, and it doesn't always translate over to country and vice versa. I was kind of like interested to see how he was going to do because he's obviously done so well for Leverkusen. You know, it can sometimes swallow you up at international level, but like I said, in those aforementioned friendlies where they beat big teams, he was one of the best players, if not the best player on the pitch. So I think he's going to absolutely ball out. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Musiala if Germany won, because to be honest, talent-wise, I think he's got the highest ceiling. I just don't think he's had as good of a season as Wirtz, and I don't think he's coming into the tournament with the same kind of form level. So I'll probably just edge it to Wirtz. But you know what? I could also see Leroy Sané having a really good tournament, but I don't think he will reach the level that I think it would require to win it. So I'm going to go for Florian Wirtz. I think he's gonna ball out. And yeah, I just think international football is just made for him. I think he's just going to take to it like a duck to water. All right, so that's our list then. For winners, I'll recap real quick. I've gone for Germany. You, Johns, have gone for England. Dark horses, I've gone for Hungary. You've gone for Portugal/Denmark. Flops, I've gone for Netherlands. You've gone for Spain. Player of the tournament, you've gone for Harold Jebediah Kane. And I've gone for Florian Wirtz. All right, so I feel like we've got a good spread now. This will add an extra bit of jeopardy to the tournament. Hope for your sake you're right with the winners, but I wouldn't be shocked if both of us are wrong, because we've left out a big elephant in the room with our predictions. Probably the bookies. I don't know, England the bookies' favourite now. I think I read something that they were, but they shouldn't be. I think France should be. So we haven't really talked too much on them. But yeah, let's see how it goes.